लोगों को आप अवेयरनेस नहीं है, काउंसलिंग नहीं है. और रही देखो, यू हैव सीन हाउ मेनी चिल्ड्रंस हैव डाइड इन यूपी. आई डोंट हैव टू से यू, योर चैनल, यू आर द वन हु हैज सेड दैट. आप खुद चेक कर लीजिए, चाहे वो स्कूल्स के अंदर हो, हॉस्पिटल्स में हो. लेट्स स्टार्ट फ्रॉम देयर. व्हाई आर यू गोइंग फ्रॉम डाउन? आज नीड
Okay,
ऑफ द आवर
I'm
इज
out
द
of time.
एजुकेशन.
Thank
एजुकेशन
you very
ओनली
much,
कैन
Asif
ब्रिंग द
Sahel
रिफॉर्म.
and Rahul Ishwar for joining us. But we'll see how the story plays out. Right now, it's an interim report. The full report has not been submitted to the UP government. And then what the government decides to do thereafter will be interesting to watch. That's a wrap. Maria Shakil joining you with News Epicenter.
Even the Supreme Court has not found any fault with her. Supreme Court has said that the process of selection and appointment was illegal.
എന്താണ് ഷോ കോസ് തന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. അതെനിക്ക് മനസ്സിലാവാത്തത്, ഞാൻ എന്ത് ഷോ കോസിന് എന്ത് മറുപടിയാണ് കൊടുക്കേണ്ടത്? എന്നെ എന്തിനാണ് അപ്പോയിന്റ് ചെയ്തതിൻ്റെ ഞാൻ എങ്ങനെയാണ് കോസ് പറയാം?
ക്യാമ്പസുകളെ വർഗീയവൽക്കരിച്ച് സമൂഹത്തിൽ ഭിന്നിപ്പുണ്ടാക്കുന്നതിനുള്ള ശ്രമങ്ങൾ തീവ്രമാകുന്നു.
Hello everyone, you're watching News Epicenter with me, Maria Shakil. The varsity war in Kerala continues to escalate with a showdown between the Kerala government and the Kerala governor. The Kerala governor, Arif Muhammad Khan, has issued show cause notices to 11 vice chancellors in the state, claiming that a recent Supreme Court ruling has made it clear that their appointment has been illegal. On Sunday, Arif Muhammad Khan asked the VCs to resign, claiming they were either appointed from single-name panels or recommended by selection committees with non-academic members. This has become a political flashpoint in the state, with Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan accusing the governor of interfering in the government's work. The LDF even launched protests against the governor's action, accusing him of pushing the agenda of the Sangh Parivar. Nonetheless, the ball remains in the governor's court. After the vice chancellors moved the High Court against the governor's order, the court ruled they can stay in office till the governor, as chancellor, takes a final decision. Arif Muhammad Khan has asked the vice chancellors to show cause for their legal right in office. They have been asked to respond by November 3rd. But the fight is far from over. And now, I'm getting the CNN News 18 mega exclusive. I am being joined by the man in the center of this firestorm. Kerala Governor Arif Muhammad Khan is joining me live. Arif Sahab, really appreciate your time. Today, you have sent show cause notices to vice chancellors of 2 more universities, asking them to explain why you must not remove them from their post. Your office had sent notices to 9 vice chancellors on Sunday, and they have got temporary relief from the Kerala High Court. The LDF government, sir, is saying that you are doing all this with a larger design. There is a purpose behind it.
They have every right to say whatever they like, but what I am doing, I have made it clear that Honorable Supreme Court in its judgment has clearly laid down the law. If the selection committee does not meet the requirements of the UGC regulation and an appointment is made based on their recommendation, the words which Honorable Supreme Court has used are, it will be considered void ab initio. Right from day one, they are illegal occupant of the office. The second ground which they have given is that UGC regulation requirement is to make a panel of 3 to 5 names. If single name has been forwarded to the chancellor and appointment is made of that person, that will also be considered as void ab initio. So the only thing that I am doing is to uphold, apply the law as laid down by Honorable Supreme Court in the case of the Technical University to all the universities. Similar, as Chancellor of the University, I am under obligation to take this step. But if any citizen of India goes to the court asking that this should be applied, then they would have been removed by after Supreme Court judgment, there is no escape route. So they are free to say whatever they feel like, because they have been using the universities for a long time for their own political ends. The recent example where an underqualified person, relative of the political secretary of the chief minister, was going to be appointed. In fact, the Vice Chancellor had announced that tomorrow we will issue the appointment order. So I stayed that. And not only I stayed that, because my order had not reached by that time to the university, the court, the Honorable High Court also stayed that order.
Arif Saab, the news reports that are coming from the ground are suggesting that the political class there, that the government has reportedly counseled the Vice Chancellors to ignore or overlook your order of seeking their resignations. Don't you feel that this will set the ground for a protracted legal battle with what many say would be far-reaching constitutional ramifications?
Nothing, absolutely nothing. I had tried to give them I had suggested an honorable exit. And therefore, I had requested them to submit their resignations by 11:30 in the morning on Sunday. Since they did not, they were directed, news has appeared. It is not the government which is directing them. It is the LDF, the political outfit. Every paper has carried this news, that LDF has directed the Vice Chancellors not to heed to my letter. So they did not resign. And I had told them I will wait till 11:30. After that, I shall start taking whatever legal steps are needed or required in order to uphold the judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court. Therefore, after 11:30, show cause notices have been issued, and they are, and the matter also came before the Honorable High Court. The Honorable High Court has clearly said the power rests with the Chancellor. If you have any complaint against that, and mind it, I am not finding, Honorable Supreme Court has not found anything wrong with the qualifications of the incumbent. They have said that the procedure of appointment is erroneous. It conflicts with the UGC regulations. In my letter to them, I did not say that you are inefficient or you lack qualification. No, I said in order to uphold and to apply the law as laid down by Honorable Supreme Court, I am requesting, and remember it, that the words which have been used by Honorable Supreme Court are void ab initio. From day one, your appointment is illegal. What I had told them, I had tried to suggest to them an honorable way out, where they can resign, they can take sort of moral stand. The Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court has said so. Therefore, we feel that our appointment was also made in the same manner. We are submitting our resignation. I had suggested an honorable way out.
Okay.
They under the pressure of the LDF, they did not respond. So it's up to them. Now they have been given time to explain why this law should not be applied to them. And the date is 3rd of November.
Okay. Asa, I am looking at the statement coming from one of the Vice Chancellors. The VC of Kannur University has said, and I am quoting him, if the decision is to remove me, then fire me. I will not resign. He says no state has dismissed all the VCs like this one in India. the Chancellor can fire Vice Chancellors, but there are certain fixed criteria. Don't you think the Chancellor's action will create uncertainty in the universities now?
He is only trying to create confusion. I have not sacked any Vice Chancellor. I have merely suggested to them that in the light of the decision of the judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court, it will be good for you to resign. I have not sacked any Vice Chancellor. I have not found fault with any one of them. I have said only to uphold the Honorable Supreme Court's judgment and apply that law. The judgment by the Honorable Supreme Court becomes law of the land. So he is saying something which I have not done. This statement would have become maybe justified if I had sacked any of them. I have not sacked any Vice Chancellor.
Okay. Arif Saab, the LDF government is saying that all your actions are part of Sangh Parivar's agenda. How will you respond to that?
They are, what they say, I need not comment on that. They are saying this since, I think they are saying it since November 2019. I had joined the office in September. So they have been continuously, they have been saying this because they found very early that they can't use me as a rubber stamp to regularize all the illegalities which they are committing. They are very upset with me because I stayed the appointment of the partner of the political secretary of the chief minister. So they are very upset with me. Let them take out their frustration. Why I should comment on it?
Okay. Sir, don't you think this disagreement which is going on between the government and the governor, and as you said, since November 2019, will affect the governance in Kerala?
There is no reason, because I am only insisting that you follow the law, you follow the rules, and they are used to, there are many instances and many reasons where they should feel upset with me. For instance, I'll give you the reason. They wanted to give in cooperative societies, they want to give vote right to the government officers who are appointed as administrators. I said it will be like butchering the democracy. So I refused to sign that. They wanted to deprive the Lok Ayukt of the powers which Lok Ayukt is enjoying since last more than 2 decades. I refused to sign that. And then they wanted to change the process of selection of the vice chancellors. They wanted to change it. They wanted to decide. They wanted to have 3 representatives. The bill has been passed by the assembly. 3 government representatives. And in that they have provided that the panel shall be prepared by majority. Because I was insisting that you won't send one name, you will send a panel. So the way out they found was that they increase the number of persons who will sit on the selection committee, and they will decide by majority whose name will be included in the panel. That is totally in conflict with UGC regulations. Therefore, I refuse to sign them. Their idea of governor is that whatever they say, governor should sign it. No, my idea of this office is I have taken oath to protect, preserve and defend the constitution.
There are also talks, Arif Saab, about possible legislations to remove governors as chancellors of universities, because there have been multiple examples in other states where chief ministers have had similar run-ins with the governor. You know, let me give you some examples. Bengal Assembly has gone ahead and made that move. Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan, Kerala may well be joining that list.
They are most welcome to do it. I had offered to them about 7 months back that I am not going to sign on all these proposals which in my view are irregular and illegal. Therefore, you become the chancellor, you bring an ordinance, I will sign it. I have no problem. If they bring, they will never bring. They wrote me 4 letters. Even the other states you are talking about, they have not implemented it. Why they have not implemented it? Because world over, the academic world will never accept executive interference in the universities. They will never accept. UGC, they depend heavily on UGC for funds. UGC will never accept that. Accept what? Not my removal, not any governor's removal. They will not accept interference by the executive, by the government in the affairs of the university. The autonomy of the academic institutions is a principle which is universally accepted, acknowledged, and upheld. So these are only, I would say these are only hollow, absolutely hollow threats. But I had offered to them for continuously for one month, every file regarding the universities or from the universities which came to my office, I kept directing them to the Chief Minister's office. Then why did he not accept it if they want to bring some law? And if they want to bring, welcome by all means.
Okay. The Kerala government, Arif Saab, is planning to move a review petition against the Supreme Court's order revoking KTU's Vice-Chancellor appointment. Secondly, the LDF on November 15th will be holding a rally outside Raj Bhavan against your move. What will be your suggestions to the ruling party?
I do not have to make any suggestion to them. That is the right of any citizen of India, and more so of the government, if they want to move a review petition. But to target the governor and threaten him that we will not let you move, we will hold a demonstration by 100, only today it has been announced, 100,000 people will gheraw the Raj Bhavan. And Chief Minister has said that the governor should be ready to face the consequences. They are holding out threats. That is all they. And I love these kinds of to fight those who hold out illegal threats. You know, I have gone through much worse. In 1986, my house was attacked. I was attacked 5 times. So I don't care what they are going to do. It will make my resolve even firmer that I shall not allow the interference by the government in the functioning of the universities. University autonomy must be upheld. We cannot allow government to appoint vice chancellors irregularly so that they remain beholden to them and make all kind of irregular appointments, as the example which I have given you in the universities. You know, Professor C.N.R. Rao, Bharat Ratna, who heads the India's biggest scientific establishment. In his letter to Kerala governor, he has said that Kerala has very robust school system, but no brilliant student of Kerala is ready to stay in the state. They all go outside. Professor Panikkar, who was vice chancellor of one of the Kerala University and later he was chairman of the Higher Education Council, he in his article has said that Kerala students, bright students, they don't want to pursue further studies in Kerala because of the problems universities are suffering from. I have a duty. I do not know whether I shall be successful or not successful, but at least I will make every effort with all sincerity that our universities start performing better. And they are able to protect their autonomy.
My last question to you, since you find yourself in the middle of the storm, there is a view that there was an error of judgment. Was a legal opinion sought? And if yes, did it err at some point, sir?
Do not forget that I am myself a lawyer and I have so many friends who are senior lawyers in Supreme Court. And never expect from me that I will take any action without reflecting on it for considerable time and without consult. I have this advantage. So many of my friends are senior lawyers in the Supreme Court. During the time when I practice, there are advocates on record, very competent, who are engaged by topmost names in the legal world. They are very good friend of mine since last 30, 40 years. And I must tell you, I consulted almost every one of them.
Okay.
In fact, some of them were of the view that when a judgment is given under quo warranto, then no need of show cause notice. Still, I went by the opinion of those friends who said that in order to be more careful, first you issue a show cause notice and ask them to show why this law, which has been laid down by the Honorable Supreme Court, does not apply to them. I have given them notices. Suppose they come with cogent reasons, which I have not been able so far to take into cognizance, I will listen to them. But as far as the facts as they appear, they are documented. Each one of them has been appointed either through a selection committee, of which chief secretary or government officer was a part, which according to Honorable Supreme Court renders the appointment void ab initio, or single name was sent to the chancellor and he had no option to exercise his discretion. That also Honorable Supreme Court has said renders the appointment void ab initio.
All right, Arif Mohammad Khan, Kerala governor, in his fiery best, his first and only interview till now on this entire crisis that is happening in Kerala. Really appreciate your time, Arif Saab. Hope to interact with you with another issue when we see that happening. Thank you so much. On that note, we are slipping into a short break. Coming up, as Rishi Sunak scripts history, becoming the youngest and first Indian origin Prime Minister of Britain, politics over majoritarianism erupts back home here in India between the BJP and the opposition. That debate after a short break, and also an exclusive with Dr. Shashi Tharoor.
We'd like you to call in with your view. Let us know what you want from your representatives in the state of Karnataka, in the city of Bengaluru, and we'd like to put those questions to those elected representatives and what action they are taking as far as the pothole menace in the city is concerned. Now, several lives have been lost in the city of Bengaluru, across the state of Karnataka as well, and this is the story we see every single monsoon. One heavy downpour and the roads go for a toss. There are pothole-ridden roads on newly asphalted roads as well. And Harish, that's the most unfortunate bit. It's not like these roads are built 10, 20 years ago. Some of them are built a couple of months ago, and yet we see gaping holes in them.
Absolutely. Remember, every time a fresh tender goes out for asphalting of a road, it has details, it has certain conditions. There is a defect liability period. There is a maintenance period, which means if a road develops any sort of a issue with its quality, whether it's potholes or cracking up or peeling off, the liability lies on the contractor who has executed that particular tender. Now, the question is, how many of these contractors have been made to cough up for putting up such substandard road? Second, have they been blacklisted? How many contractors have been blacklisted? We haven't seen this. We haven't seen the government coming out and saying, well, we believe this contractor, ex-contractor hasn't done his job properly. We are blacklisting him from all government works. That hasn't happened. We haven't seen that. Second, this raises a bigger question. If the government is not going after the contractors for such shoddy jobs, such substandard work, one wonders if they are in hand in glove with the contractors. The fact that the Contractors Association a few months back came out and said that irrespective of the work that's happening, whether it's from the BBMP or other agencies of the government, demanding 40% commission leaves us with very little scope to carry out good quality work in government infrastructure. Raises question on if that's the reason the government is not going after the contractors.
We are seeing unique protests like these which took place yesterday, where on the occasion of Diwali, a citizen decided to get the attention of the civic body and of the politicians that these potholes continue to claim lives, that these potholes continue to create a menace for the people of the city, which is why he was seen bursting crackers in multiple of those potholes across the city. And Harish, we've been discussing how there are political ramifications of this as well. The crumbling infrastructure, not just in Bengaluru, but across the state, is something that the BJP will have to combat come election next year.
Absolutely. And the fact that several of these problematic areas are the ones that have seen crores of rupees being spent in terms of asphalting the entire stretch. In some cases, bridges and ROBs built just a few weeks back, and them developing potholes. It adds to the whole narrative that the Congress is saying that this BJP government is corrupt, takes 40% commission in every government contract, as a result of which we have substandard work. And with multiple infrastructure projects facing questions of quality standards, and now you have pothole-ridden roads across Bengaluru, this despite the BBMP saying that they have spent hundreds of crores in the last 2 years just to fill potholes. We are not even...
Rishi Sunak has scripted history by becoming the 57th Prime Minister of Britain, replacing once leadership rival Liz Truss as this country actually faces a severe economic crisis. He is the youngest and first Indian origin Prime Minister of Britain who enjoyed the support of over 50% of Conservative MPs, making him the clear winner in the leadership race. But politics has erupted back home, with opposition parties such as the Congress and the BJP saying India must learn diversity from the United Kingdom. The BJP has hit back, saying India has had 3 Muslim and 1 Sikh president, a Sikh Prime Minister for 10 years, as well as minorities in top judicial positions and even the armed forces. The Saffron Party has made it clear India does not need to learn about diversity and inclusivity from any other country.
And I have been elected as leader of my party and your Prime Minister, in part, to fix them. And that work begins immediately.
While Rishi Sunak has made history by becoming UK's first British Asian Prime Minister, his selection has triggered a political storm in India. Many opposition leaders have used Sunak's victory to target the BJP. Congress MP and former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram said there is a lesson to be learnt by India and the parties that practice majoritarianism. His fellow partyman Shashi Tharoor followed suit.
To actually create a situation where a brown man can become Prime Minister. I think that's an extraordinary achievement. I would really like to see the Hindutvavadis of the BJP being prepared to embrace somebody. Would they embrace somebody who's an overtly practicing Muslim or Christian as Prime Minister?
Former Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister and PDP Chief Mehbooba Mufti said that while the UK has accepted an ethnic minority member as its Prime Minister, India is still shackled by discrimination. The BJP immediately dismissed the opposition's claims.
India is rejoicing, Indians are rejoicing globally. So let us celebrate that. Today is not the occasion for political divide.
जी और एक लंबी श्रृंखला है, तमाम जो संवैधानिक पद हैं उस पर जो है वो कभी जाति, धर्म और कुनबा ये नहीं महत्व रहा, काबिलियत महत्वपूर्ण रही.
The fact of the matter is that India has had a Sikh Prime Minister, several Muslim presidents, and the current head of state is from the tribal community. So is the opposition's majoritarianism argument far-fetched, or is there a need to introspect?
Joining me now, Tuhin Sinha, spokesperson of the BJP. Dr. Udit Raj is the leader of the Congress party. Nilanjan Das is a political analyst. I also have Professor Kapil Kumar, historian. Dr. Udit Raj, India has had minorities in the top constitutional offices, and that is about merit over minoritism that the Congress party is talking about. Then how does this broad-based equivalence of Rishi Sunak's emergence really help Indian politics?
See, first of all, Maria Shakil, I'm meeting you after a long time, hearing your
Yes, you
name.
are.
I agreed to come on the channel, and let's see that the yardsticks which ruling party adopts differs in a very big way. In 2004, they said that Sonia ji can't become PM, and it's a stalwart leader like Sushma Swaraj ji said that she'll get her head transferred, she will quit the politics.
No, but that's a different argument. I'm talking about
listen,
no.
Listen, let me one.
Okay, continue.
And even and not only that, they did not stop to that only. One of their leaders, minister and Bihar BJP president said that even if children born from foreign origin mother cannot be a patriot to this extent. So what happened then? Why
are you questioning the foreign origin here? Are you then talking about foreign origin or talking about minoritism? Because there are two different ideas then here.
Or listen, you cannot, let me answer, that is my freedom. You chose the subject according to your choice. Let me supplement. Only one sentence I am going to say is that same people are now jumping and congratulating what morale they have.
Okay. So you have no morale according to the Congress party. Please go ahead.
But secondly, the minority president, the minority has become a president and prime minister because of the Congress, not because of the BJP. That is to be noted. That is to be noted. And let me complete it. That is not because of BJP. BJP entire foundation is laid against
I was about to give you details of here
BJP will not stand.
The question here is, I wanted to remind you of history. Dr. Zakir Hussain, third president of India, Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad, Gyani Zail Singh from the Sikh community, APJ Abdul Kalam, minoritism of a different nature in Draupadi Murmu as the first tribal woman president. Then you have Dr. Manmohan Singh from the Sikh community as the Prime Minister for 10 years. Then you have had Justice Muhammad Hidayatullah Muslim as the Chief Justice of India. India has appointed Fatima Bibi, a Muslim woman, as a Supreme Court judge in 1989. The list is long. Tuhin Sinha, respond to what the charge is coming from Dr. Ujit Raj.
The absolutely unwarranted and callous comments by Shashi Tharoor ji and P. Chidambaram only point towards, the colonial mindset and the hypocrisy of the Congress party. And when I say colonial mindset, it also borders on an inferiority complex, because like you have read out the long list of minority, people who have occupied or who have been on top positions. I don't know how Congress could forget it. You are from Bihar. You would recall that Abdul Ghafoor had become the Chief Minister of Bihar in 1973.
Yes.
A.R. Antule became the Chief Minister of Maharashtra in 1980. At that point of time, did anybody make a big issue about religion? They became the Chief Minister at that point of time because they were qualified at that point of time. But the Congress comments on this issue is particularly dangerous for two reasons. One, if you look at the hypocrisy of it, they just had the party elections. Shashi Tharoor could easily have made way for, somebody like Udit Raj, a Dalit leader, at least he calls himself a Dalit leader, or he could have done better by trying to woo Ghulam Nabi Azad to come back to the party and become the party president.
But they have a Dalit president now.
That happened.
They have a Dalit president in Mr. Kharge.
You are not crossing him.
Yes.
You are not crossing him.
One moment. Dr. Udit Raj. Dr. Udit Raj, one moment, please.
He is a bit
Okay.
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 The
He
usage
should answer
of the
your
term
question.
visible minority. It's a very dangerous precedent. What does visible minority mean? Does the Sikh community not qualify to be visible minority? That sets a very dangerous precedent for the country.
Okay. Professor Kapil Kumar.
Maria, I have to say a lot. When Congress talks of this, please go back to 46 April, 1946 April. Udit Raj ji, remember this Congress history, you won't be knowing. When Nehru was selected as Congress president against the wishes of all the provincial Congress committees.
Is it the subject today?
And the Congress
is it
president
the subject to be discussed? Come on the
Please
point.
listen, I didn't interfere in you. Mr. Udit Raj, have some manners.
No, you
have
are
some
not
manners,
talking.
otherwise I won't debate with you.
What
I didn't
about the
interfere in you.
BJP?
Okay, Udit Raji. Udit Raji, listen to Professor Kapil Kumar. Okay, Professor Kapil Kumar. Professor Kapil Kumar on the screen now, please. Only Professor Kapil Kumar.
Silence him.
Only Professor Kapil Kumar. Yes, go ahead.
You see, the Congress president normally changes in the Congress sessions. And the Congress session was to be held in Meerut sometime in September, October. And Maulana Azad was the Congress president at that time. And it was known that who is the Congress president will become the Prime Minister of the interim government of India in 1946. But Gandhi got Congress presidentship handed over to Nehru in the month of May by Maulana Azad. And on record, there is a letter written by Maulana Azad to Gandhi. You did not trust me. That is one. Second, the Congress ruled for so many years in this country. Why didn't they make any Muslim prime minister? Because they wanted prime ministerships always for their family. And even now, the lust is for that. Why don't they make Congress president a Muslim? Why don't they make it?
Okay. The challenge has been thrown on you. Dr. Udit Raj, respond to this.
Give me answer to my question.
They are not focusing. They are not answering your query in the sense that BJP does not give any ticket to Muslims, and BJP whole edifice is laid on anti-Muslims, and they are the people who are talking about the Congress credential. Barring exception, this president post is a ceremonial given to Adivasi person. Otherwise, it's a Congress who has moral to say, yes, they have given representation.
But Dr. Udit Raj, you have not answered the specific question that has been raised by the historian.
I am coming to that.
Basic question that has been raised by Professor Kapil Kumar is saying that why isn't the Congress party, the grand old party, making a Muslim the party president? You can make him. You have had an example in Ghulam Nabi Azad, senior most leader.
No, you see, one-sided. You are also completely biased.
No, you can level that charge. That is not the first time that you are doing it. It will happen.
Okay. I ask about the BJP.
No, he can ask you questions, right?
1 minute.
He can ask anybody. He can raise questions against anybody. Yes. Okay, let's have both of them on the screen now. Yes.
Maria, one more question I want to ask.
Yes, go ahead, Professor Kapil Kumar. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Mr. Udit Raj gave examples that Sonia should not be made Prime Minister. Sushma Swaraj said this, said that. What? Who was in majority at that time? Congress. AICC session was taking off Congress. Congress Working Committee meeting was taking place. Why did the Congress Working Committee didn't make Sonia Gandhi and President and chose Manmohan Singh? Why? It is Congress who denied Sonia Gandhi, not Manmohan Singh, not BJP. Why is he bringing BJP? Let him look at him in his own party. And he has no party. Because every 6 months he changes a party. When he was in BJP, BJP was very good. Now he is out of BJP. BJP is very bad.
Okay.
What is this?
Dr. Udit Raj, respond. Dr. Udit Raj.
Did not appoint Sonia Gandhi as Prime Minister.
Okay, Dr. Udit Raj. Professor Kapil Kumar, you have asked question. Let him respond. Let him respond. Yes, Dr. Udit Raj, respond. Specifics.
I'm not like you, Professor Kapil Kumar. Being in BJP, I had
I am not BJP.
disagreed on many issues, not like you, a blinded one. And
I am not like
secondly,
BJP and not say not
you
like
are
you. I know you also very well.
rather you
What you are and what
should
your politics
join
is.
BJP.
You have
You
always
should
cashed
join
out on it.
BJP.
I know
You
that.
have not
And I can give you examples from
You have
IGNOU.
not answered the BJP leader
You
saying
have not
that
answered my one
BJP
single
leader
question.
saying that
Because
the
you don't have
child
any
born
evidence to
from
answer me.
foreign origin mother cannot be patriot, cannot be loyal to the nation. You are answering it. You are not answering where.
You have not
running
understood my
away.
question, mister.
What about
You have
the
not
Sushma
understood my
Swaraj?
question.
It's our internal
Forget
matter.
BJP.
You people
Why
question
didn't
about
the Congress appoint him
the
Prime Minister?
president
Why
election
ask him that?
in Congress. You people, Mr.
Ask him that.
Modi can make anybody chief minister and next
No, but how is that relevant? Dr. Udit Raj, we also have to bring Tuhin Sinha back into this discussion. Tuhin Sinha, okay, Tuhin Sinha, this charge of no Muslim MP. Yes, I can see Nilanjan Das as well. Nilanjan Das, the TMC, the PDP, all of them have taken the line similar to that of the Congress party. But if you look at it, and India's history is replete with several examples of minorities, not just Muslims, but even Sikhs and minorities in the form of a tribal who have been given representation. So would you say that India will be judged far more fairly when global history is written?
Exactly, Maria, but we are talking about today's date. What the BJP has done of this country. We are talking about that. You will remember that India is the country that produced a woman prime minister much before the United Kingdom.
Yes.
So, given that, so India has been quite progressive from that angle, but today what the BJP has done of it, today they don't have one Muslim MP. Why I'm talking about this? Because this is the question of the visible minority. Doesn't the BJP consider any Muslim patriotic or any Muslim eligible to represent the people of India in the highest panchayat of the land?
Okay.
So these are the questions that are relevant.
So basically,
the question is towards the BJP and not towards India.
Okay. So Nilanjan, you are essentially saying. Yes, so all the examples of inclusivity and diversity is before 2014. It's before 2014, not after 2014. Is what the charge is, Dr. Yes, Tuhin.
It's a very cliched charge. Why don't you give tickets? If you look at it, on an average, if you go by data, 6 to 8% of Muslims have been lately voting for us. So where do we hunt for the candidates? We have 4 Muslim spokespersons in the party. How many does TMC have? So I think it's a very unfair charge. If you look at our deliverance of our schemes, whether it is Nal Se Jal, whether it is any other, the beneficiaries or the Muslim beneficiaries have been in unprecedented numbers, and that is what should matter. We have never, done a bhed-bhav between different communities. But when Udit Raj constantly puts this forth, let me remind him that we recently nominated Ghulam Ali to Parliament from Jammu, and he belongs to one of the most backward Muslim communities in Jammu and Kashmir. So we have always taken care of backward communities, but when the argument is of a visible majority, that is something I have an issue with, because that is a very dangerous precedent there. That is where you're dividing minorities time and again.
Have they given a single ticket to Muslim?
Have you given a single ticket to one Muslim in West Bengal, which has 30% Muslim representation?
You
don't have one Muslim leader.
Give tickets to the wrong people. Winnability is the most important thing in an election.
Okay, all Muslims are wrong people. This is your ideology. This is the ideology of the BJP. They think that Muslims are unpatriotic. They think that Muslims are the wrong people for India. They don't consider Muslims as Indians. They consider Muslims as
Nilanjan, the counter argument can be, then why this just tokenism? If it's about winnability, BJP has identified its constituency, and that constituency and the party believes in winnability.
Maria Sakil, you are very bad.
That is the point, Maria. They have that is the concept of majoritarian politics. That is what we are talking about.
You are
The Congress or the TMC,
you are
doing
like a spokesperson of
or
BJP.
minority appeasement as they allege.
Replace Mamta Banerjee with Firad Hakim?
So what kind of an argument is this? What kind of an argument? This is what is tokenism.
Can he win elections for you?
Tokenism.
He won't be able to win elections for you.
Don't talk rubbish on national television, please. Let's not get into all this rubbish Malviya kind of arguments.
No, what do you mean? If you can't walk the talk, don't throw unreal challenges.
No, you walk. We are not throwing any kind of unreal challenges. And you are talking about the Honorable President of India. Does the BJP consider the Honorable President of India as not a Hindu? I want to ask this question.
Where does this come from? I mean, you must be on a wrong debate. Where does this come from?
No, because you're talking about it as a different kind of minority. I don't understand the meaning.
Okay, I have just enough time for Professor Kapil Kumar. Professor Kapil Kumar, I have already been declared a biased journalist who's not conducting a fair debate. Please go ahead. I'll give you the final comments.
For politics.
Yes.
And that is
Maria, you mentioned about Mehbooba Mufti, talking of minority prime ministership and all. How much Mehbooba Mufti cares herself for minorities is known for her stand of what happened to Kashmiri Pandit minorities in Kashmir. Did she ever raise a word when they were murdered, when they were tortured, when they were thrown out of the state? So this whole nonsensical things which they bring in, all this debate and issues they are raising is because they don't find the issues, so they bring in Hindu and Muslim. Let it be known that every citizen India is citizen of India, whether a Muslim, a Sikh, a Christian, a Dalit, or an ST or anyone. And this whole Congress thing which they started, periphery and marginal. Okay. So they start this minority and all.
Dr. Udit Raj, isn't this entire argument that has been put forth by some of your leaders of your party purely superficial? It's just superficial.
It has a very deep meaning. It reflects the reality of BJP. It reflects the reality of this government that none of you, Maria, none of you, neither Professor Kapil has answered that why BJP has not given a single ticket to the Muslims. And of course, it's a broad daylight and nobody is talking about. You are not taking up this question. And still those people who are discussing about Congress history, you are talking about.
This is not about India. The BJP does not represent Indianness.
And this was supposed to be about making an observation in the context of the new UK Prime Minister. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Udit Raj, Tuin Sinha, Nilanjan Das and Professor Kapil Kumar. I spoke to Congress MP Shashi Tharoor, who says India has much to learn when it comes to the representation of minorities from United Kingdom. Listen in. Rishi Sunak is the new UK Prime Minister. And back home here in India, it has led to a political war of words between the BJP and the Congress. Joining me now on this special broadcast is senior Congress leader Shashi Tharoor. Dr. Tharoor, really appreciate your time. And your tweet has set off a storm. One may say that this invocation of majoritarian angle in Rishi Sunak's elevation is superficial, sir.
Well, look, I mean, the fact is that they have overlooked a fundamental question of race, that he is a brown-skinned person. He is not of Anglo-Saxon stock or English stock or Scots stock or anything like that. He is somebody of Indian origin. And the British, who were notorious and justifiably so for their racial discrimination for a couple of centuries of imperial conquest and rule, a country that used to have racial restrictions on who could enter their clubs in India and Africa till half a century, 60 years ago. Such a country has been able to outgrow the worst of its own prejudices to actually create a situation where a brown man can become prime minister. I think that's an extraordinary achievement. Secondly, they've overlooked his religion. I mean, he is an overtly practicing Hindu, proud of his faith, takes his oath on the Bhagavad Gita. He is somebody who, even when campaigning for the Tory party leadership a couple of months ago, tweeted pictures of himself performing a cow puja and praying to Lord Krishna on Janmashtami. This is somebody who's absolutely overtly proud of practicing a faith which is not only not the majority faith in Britain, but is actually at odds with the established church there, which is, as you know, the Anglican Christian Church. So here you've got somebody who's a double minority, as it were, and the British have been able to overlook their prejudices and take him on.
Yes.
I would really like to see the Hindutvavadis of the BJP being prepared to embrace somebody who comes from a different ethnicity, such as, for example, you remember when Sonia Gandhi was offered the premiership by her victorious coalition in 2004, you remember what the BJP said then, and the BJP leader wanted to shave her head and go on dharna outside Parliament. And then if there's somebody who goes outside the Indic religions, because Hindutva has always said that Hindus, Sikhs, Jains, Buddhists, they're all the same, they're all their holy land is this land, but anyone from anywhere else is actually a foreigner in our country.
Okay.
Would they embrace somebody who's an overtly practicing Muslim or Christian as Prime Minister?
Dr.
I'm
Tharoor,
asking this in all genuineness. Yes. I'm not saying that it's... I think we have to acknowledge that what's happened is very different from what would happen here.
But Dr. Tharoor, what the BJP is saying is, and it's reminding you of Indian history, that India has had 3 presidents from the minority community. Dr. Zakir Hussain, the 3rd president of India, was a Muslim. Justice Hidayatullah, who acted as an acting president.
I know Indian history, Maria.
Yes, of course. Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed, Gyani Zail Singh.
But we also know that the presidency, we also know the presidency is a largely ceremonial office and contains absolutely no power. The Prime Minister holds the power in this country. We know that very well, which is why it's possible for them to appoint to Rashtrapati Bhavan figures who do represent in many ways the diversity we'd like to celebrate in our country. It's wonderful to have an Adivasi president. We've had 2 Dalit presidents. We've had 3 Muslim presidents. All of this is a very good thing because it signifies that we can use this very high office, high in prestige but low in power, to use that office for such purposes. But when it comes to real power, we have had the Prime Ministership held only by Hindus, with one exception being a Sikh, but most Hindus would not regard that as such an exception as it would be to have someone from a quote-unquote non-Indic religion. Now, this is what is remarkable, I think, about what the Brits have done. I'm no Anglophile. I've written about British racism, I've written about British imperialism, I've been uncompromising in my criticism of that, but I have to admit that one has to take one's hat off for recognizing that they were able to outgrow their long decades and centuries of racial prejudice. They were able to overcome their religious scruples, and they were able to say, let's look at the merit of this individual and go for him, whatever his racial and religious background.
Okay.
And not to mention his age. I mean, in India, let's just ask you, Maria, this is a guy who got elected for the first time in 2015. He's been 7 years an MP.
Yes.
7 years, and within 5 years he became finance minister, within 7 years he became prime minister. In any ruling party in India, he'd be lucky to be an MOS at that time. So that too is a remarkable thing. So when I say, could it happen in India, you should look at race, you should look at religion, you should look at age and experience. Okay. We have, I think, valuable lessons to learn about how merit and ability should trump such considerations, and they don't in our country.
I'm going to talk about the age factor in just a bit, Dr. Tharoor, since tomorrow it will be the day when Mallikarjun Kharge will be formally taking charge as the Congress president, and you have said that the change has already begun in your party because you contested against him. Dr. Tharoor, we have had Dr. Manmohan Singh. You yourself talked about it. He was a Sikh born in an undivided India. He was the Prime Minister for 10 long years. Let me remind you again, I'm sure you know your history very, very well, son. You can teach me as well. But you have had Justice Muhammad Hidayatullah, a Muslim. Then you have Sam Piroj Barucha, a Parsi as Chief Justice of India. We have also had Fatima Bibi, a Muslim, as Judge of the Supreme Court way back in 1989. So history has shown that India may have overcome its prejudices much before Great Britain. Would you not agree with me?
No, we certainly have been able rightly to showcase our diversity. It's simply that the office of Prime Minister is in a different league. I mean, Britain is also able to point to the so-called great offices of state, that is the Foreign Minister, Finance Minister, Home Minister and Prime Minister, that they've held. People of color, people both of brown descent and black descent have held those positions before. So it's not just those positions. It's the prime ministership, the most powerful office in the land, the person who appoints other ministers, the person in whom confidence has to be expressed by the House. That is a category by itself, Maria, and therefore we can point to chief justices, for that matter, cricket captains. But the fact is that nothing comes up to match the position of prime minister. And I think Dr. Manmohan Singh was certainly a very, very important. I'm a great fan of Dr. Manmohan Singh's. I think his being prime minister was, again, a recognition of his extraordinary ability and capability as one of the leading policy economists in the world. But the fact still is that most Hindus do not have a problem with the idea of a Sikh or a Jain or a Buddhist, because they see this all as Indic religions. The Hindutvavadis are explicit in saying that it's only those whose Punya Bhumi is in this land whom they consider to be authentic. So what happens if a Muslim or a Christian who practices their faith as overtly as Rishi Sunak practices his wanted to be Prime Minister of India? Would the BJP welcome that? I'd love to see it. If they do, then at that point I'll take my hat off to them and say shabash. But I don't think they're there yet, and I certainly don't see any candidate like that in the offing when you haven't got a single Muslim MP in either House of Parliament. This is really something which has never been the case in the past. All those examples you mentioned come from a past, by and large, where others were in power, including my party, not theirs.
Yes, but Dr. Tharoor, talking about the larger diversity and multiculturalism, you know, many are saying that today, of course, Rishi Sunak has taken charge in UK as the Prime Minister, and it's a big day for Indians world over, because this is also showcasing the long miles that Britain would have travelled in accepting, you know, in giving an institution of that nature to someone who is of Indian origin, a country which sent viceroys to India for several years. Would you say that this is a necessary debate beginning today?
Well, I don't know there's much to debate. I think we have to acknowledge that what they've done is truly extraordinary at multiple levels. They've overlooked race, they've overlooked religion, they've overlooked age, and they've basically just focused on merit at a time when, frankly, their economy is in the doldrums. They've had a world-class financial crisis. Their last Prime Minister, outgoing Prime Minister, resigned after the shortest tenure ever recorded of any Prime Minister in the history of the office in Britain. Given all of that, they wanted a safe pair of hands, somebody who could be counted upon to stabilize the economy, to steer the ship of the British economy in the right direction. And they saw that they had a Chancellor of the Exchequer who'd done a good job, and here he was with experience on Wall Street, experience in the city, former hedge fund, former Chancellor. They said, let's go for him. I think it was really a classic instance of people saying merit trumps every other consideration. Whereas very often in politics, including international politics, merit is not the only consideration. Very often people go for these other thoughts. But clearly the British MPs of the Conservative Party said, either we recognize that this man is a man who can save us, or we face a general election where we're going to get clobbered because the Labour Party is 38% ahead of us in the polls. And with that, they took their decision. I think that actually is to their credit. It doesn't guarantee that Rishi will succeed. It doesn't guarantee that they will still be able to face the electorate against the Labour Party in the foreseeable future. But they've got a couple of years, 2.5 years before an election is due. Maybe Rishi can pull it off. And certainly, as a well-wisher and a friend, I wish him well. I hope he can do it.
Who is Mr. Ghulam Ali? Probably my friends don't know. Mr. Ghulam Ali is a Gujar, a scheduled tribe Muslim from Jammu and Kashmir. Maybe Mehbooba Mufti ji is not aware of him. Mehbooba Mufti ji is not aware because he's a scheduled tribe. He's a Gujar. He's a Muslim. The point is precisely this. Be it Mr. Tharoor, be it Mehbooba Mufti ji, they just want to do the minority appeasement politics. That has been the fundamental problem.
How are you making that distinction? No, one second, Guru. You are saying you've sent Muslim candidates to the Rajya Sabha. You are saying you've got Muslim candidates as ministers in the UP government. Why then couldn't you find a single capable enough Muslim candidate, obviously one who can win an election, to field in the Lok Sabha? Or why couldn't, in the UP election that happened earlier this year, couldn't you find a single candidate, a Muslim candidate, who could win an assembly seat? Or is that stated policy that you believe that is appeasement, therefore you will not give tickets just because somebody happens to be a Muslim?
No, Zaka, that is entirely not the case. If there is any candidate who is a winnable candidate, BJP will already have, in the history you see, in Bihar elections there were Muslim candidates, in multiple other state elections you have had Muslim candidates. That is not the point. But the point which I am trying to convey is precisely this. When predominantly Muslim seats like Rampur and Azamgarh, these are predominantly Muslim seats. They have voted for the Bharatiya Janata Party. Who has benefited the abolition of triple talaq? Who has benefited the abrogation of Article 370? The beneficiaries of Jan Dhan Yojana, 47 crore bank accounts nationally. You are suggesting that there are no Muslims in it? I mean, this is preposterous to suggest,
Okay.
Zaka. Our only point is that you cannot
one
do
is
politics
welfare
in the name
schemes.
of minority
One
appeasement,
second. I think again we're confusing two issues. One is welfare schemes. Is there any discrimination in welfare schemes? No, I don't think that's the case the opposition is making. The opposition is making a case for meritorious minority candidates. Can they aspire for high office from within the BJP? Anyway, let me get Adnan Malik. You know, the problem with this minority candidates can't aspire for the top job argument is that Rishi Sunak's extraordinary political journey has been reduced to the fact that he's a minority candidate. That's the greatest, gravest, most unfair thing that you can say to him and of his career, because look at the schools he went to. He's gone to Oxford, he's gone to Stanford, he had a shining career as an investment banker, gave all that up, came to England at the age of 35 to run for Member of Parliament, won his first election. And in 7 years in public life, he's gone from MP to PM. I mean, if this is not a story of merit, then I don't know what it is.
Yes, very, very true that Rishi Sunak is totally become Prime Minister of UK is on the basis of merit. Due to his good work as a finance minister, he did at the time of
May I ask this question from Mr. Malviya, whether he will accept Sonia Gandhi as Prime Minister of this country? He will accept any Muslim as a Prime Minister of this country?
I would really like to see the Hindutvavadis of the BJP being prepared to embrace somebody who comes from a different ethnicity. Would they embrace somebody who's an overtly practicing Muslim or Christian as Prime Minister?
आज कांग्रेस पार्टी डॉक्टर थरूर, पी चिदम्बरम जी जैसे लोग कह रहे हैं कि क्या कोई माइनॉरिटी का व्यक्ति सर्वोच्च पद पर बैठ सकता है? क्या वो डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह को भूल चुके हैं और वो उनके माइनॉरिटी स्टेटस की वजह से नहीं, मेरिट की स्टेटस की वजह से वहां पर बैठने का काम उन्होंने किया है?
Hello and welcome to the late night edition with me, Ayushman Singh Jamwala. Top story: Rishi Sunak has become Britain's 57th Prime Minister, replacing the once leadership rival Liz Truss as the country continues to face an economic crisis. Now addressing the nation for the first time from 10 Downing Street, Sunak thanked his predecessors and said that the UK's economic stability will be his government's top agenda. Sunak also raised the Russia-Ukraine war and said that the ongoing conflict has destabilized Britain's economy. Sunak gained support of over 50% Conservative MPs. The 42-year-old has scripted history by becoming the first Prime Minister of Indian origin to assume the top office, as well as the youngest Prime Minister in modern British history. First, let's listen in to the new UK Prime Minister.
But some mistakes were made. Not born of ill will or bad intentions. Quite the opposite, in fact. But mistakes nonetheless. And I have been elected as leader of my party and your Prime Minister, in part, to fix them. And that work begins immediately. I will place economic stability and confidence at the heart of this government's agenda. This will mean difficult decisions to come. The government I lead will not leave the next generation, your children and grandchildren, with a debt to settle that we were too weak to pay ourselves. I will unite our country, not with words, but with action. I will work day in and day out to deliver for you. This government will have integrity, professionalism, and accountability at every level. Trust is earned, and I will earn yours. I understand how difficult this moment is. After the billions of pounds it cost us to combat COVID, after all the dislocation that caused, in the midst of a terrible war that must be seen successfully to its conclusions, I fully appreciate how hard things are. And I understand too that I have work to do to restore trust after all that has happened. All I can say is that I am not daunted. I know the high office I have accepted, and I hope to live up to its demands. So I stand here before you, ready to lead our country into the future, to put your needs above politics, to reach out and build a government that represents the very best traditions of my party. Together, we can achieve incredible things. We will create a future worthy of the sacrifices so many have made, and fill tomorrow and every day thereafter with hope. Thank you.
But this is the controversy back home, ladies and gentlemen. Congress and the PDP are saying that India must learn diversity from the United Kingdom. They say Britain has shown the way, as a member of the minority community has made it to the top post. The BJP has hit back, saying India has had 3 Muslim and 1 Sikh president, a Sikh prime minister for 10 years, as well as minorities in top judicial positions and even the armed forces. The Saffron Party has made it clear India does not need to learn about diversity and inclusivity from any other country.
And I have been elected as leader of my party and your Prime Minister, in part, to fix them. And that work begins immediately.
While Rishi Sunak has made history by becoming UK's first British Asian Prime Minister, his selection has triggered a political storm in India. Many opposition leaders have used Sunak's victory to target the BJP. Congress MP and former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram said there is a lesson to be learnt by India and the parties that practice majoritarianism. His fellow partyman Shashi Tharoor followed suit.
To actually create a situation where a brown man can become Prime Minister, I think that's an extraordinary achievement. I would really like to see the Hindutvavadis of the BJP being prepared to embrace somebody. Would they embrace somebody who is an overtly practicing Muslim or Christian as Prime Minister?
Former Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister and PDP Chief Mehbooba Mufti said that while the UK has accepted an ethnic minority member as its Prime Minister, India is still shackled by discrimination. The BJP immediately dismissed the opposition's claims.
India is rejoicing, Indians are rejoicing globally. So let us celebrate that. Today is not the occasion for political divide.
जी और एक लंबी श्रृंखला है, तमाम जो संवैधानिक पद हैं उस पर जो है वो कभी जाति, धर्म और कुनबा ये नहीं महत्व रहा, काबिलियत महत्वपूर्ण रही.
The fact of the matter is that India has had a Sikh Prime Minister, several Muslim presidents, and the current head of state is from the tribal community. So is the opposition's majoritarianism argument far-fetched, or is there a need to introspect?
And it's a controversial move by Rishi Sunak. Suella Braverman has returned as the Home Secretary of Britain. This comes just a week after she resigned over the breach of ministerial code, where she also accused Liz Truss, the former Prime Minister, of broken pledges. That's the piece of breaking news that's coming in. I'm joined by Sanjay Suri reporting from London when it comes to this latest development that's coming in with Rishi Sunak now assuming the post of Prime Minister of Britain. Sanjay, has Rishi Sunak given more ammunition to the Labour Party, which was already all guns blazing when it came to the economy against the Conservatives?
Well, there is ammunition for Labour, most certainly. What India needs to be concerned about is whether there is ammunition and there is fireworks and confrontation in the way for India. The cabinet as formed has indications within it of a budding confrontation with India, and primarily through this reappointment of Suella Braverman as the Home Secretary. As you were pointing out a minute back, she had made very severely critical remarks about India and possible migration from India linked to the free trade agreement. Following that, she was prevailed upon or persuaded to pipe down on that, and at a Diwali function later, she said that she is going to be supportive of a good immigration from India, and immigrants from India have been a successful community here. But it is possible, and many people within the Conservative Party have begun to express this worry already, that she was persuaded to pipe down, but that she will now be encouraged by none other than Rishi Sunak to go back to the views she expressed earlier. This is entirely consistent with what Rishi Sunak himself has said. And I have been at many of the hustings where Rishi Sunak has said that any trade agreement must be linked with issues of migration. Clearly, the trade agreement being discussed is the one with India, and the migration issue has arisen with India over Indian overstayers, and so Rishi Sunak has been of the view that they should be sent back, and the Indian government should do more to take them back. This is going to put Britain and India on a collision course potentially, and even we could say likely.
Right. So even though Rishi Sunak is at the helm of affairs, it seems that his policies when it comes to immigration and especially dealing with India could be the most conservative. That is being indicated by Suella Braverman's return as Home Secretary. Sanjay, before I let you go, I want to talk about this aspect when it comes to the entire appointment of Rishi Sunak as Prime Minister of Britain. Now you've had two Prime Ministers, Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak, two Prime Ministers who weren't elected to the top office. They weren't elected to 10 Downing Street. And the Labour Party, with Keir Starmer at the helm, have demanded fresh elections. Many Labour leaders have made that pitch. What is the sense among the British public? Do you feel that they want fresh elections, they want a fresh mandate? And if so, then the advantage is in the Labour camp.
Well, nobody's in a hurry for an election now. At the moment, people are weary of all the turmoil and the turbulence at the level of leadership. It's not doing the Conservative Party any good. It's not doing Britain any good. Certainly, people are very hungry now for a period of stability, and that is what they're looking for, and not for an election. Labour, of course, will want an election. Labour is on a high. It's been ahead of the Conservatives in the opinion polls, and it has the highest leadership it's had over the Conservatives in 40 years. They would clearly want an election, but Rishi Sunak is not about to call an election. He has said emphatically that he will not. So that a call for an election is a Labour demand, but it's not likely to go anywhere.
Right. Thank you, Sanjay, for getting us the latest on the political dynamics from Britain. Now, shifting focus, some more breaking news coming in. The MEA has sent another advisory to Indian nationals in Ukraine. The MEA has advised all Indian nationals in Ukraine to leave the country by all available means. That's the big piece of news coming in, where as the conflict escalates between Russia and the Ukraine, the MEA has advised all Indian nationals to leave the country as soon as possible. I'm joined by my colleague Abhishek, who's getting us this piece of breaking news. Abhishek, give us the details.
So this is the third advisory in recent days when Indian mission in Ukraine has asked its citizens to leave. Initially, the first advisory had asked them not to travel to Ukraine if it is not urgently required. The second advisory, which came last week only, that said that they should, all the Indians should inform the embassy of their whereabouts so that in case of urgency they could be contacted, and they should try to leave Ukraine as soon as possible. But today's advisory is a bit alarming because it says that all the Indians should leave Ukraine immediately by all available means. That means there is the seeming tension between Ukraine and Russia, which is also talking about some dirty bomb or nuclear or small impact nuclear weapon or some biological weapon. These charges which are being accused by both the sides on each other is something that is now being taken seriously in government establishment, and probably this is the major, this can be a major push why Indian mission in Ukraine is asking citizens to leave immediately by all means that they can afford.
Right, so that's the piece of news coming in, that this is the third advisory coming in from the Minister of External Affairs asking all Indian nationals in Ukraine to leave the war-torn country. A sense of alarm setting in Ukraine as Russia continues to expand its offensive. We'll continue to track all the developments which are coming in. For now, quick break, more news and updates on the other side.
That time in talks which have no base at all.
Kapil Madan, let me start with you first. When Mr. Chidambaram, Mr. Tharoor say that will this happen in India where a person from a minority community can aspire to the top job, why are they discounting the fact that Manmohan Singh, a Sikh, was Prime Minister for 10 years from the Congress Party? Why are they discounting that APJ Abdul Kalam was a Muslim and President of India, the first citizen, for 5 years? There have been numerous instances of presidents who've come from the minority community or prime ministers come from the minority community. So it's not like, Britain needs to show India the way or anything of that sort, as has been presented or made the case by the likes of Mr. Chidambaram and Mr. Tharoor.
Zaka, I think we're talking about the times where you have zero member of parliament in Lok Sabha from the incumbent government, from the BJP. We're talking about the time when you have zero cabinet minister from Muslim community in the Council of Ministers, and this has been said in that backdrop because now, I mean, this is not the BJP of Atalji. This is the BJP of Narendra Modi, which is driving and thriving on massive polarization. It does not even require any kind of indication that the BJP strives and thrives on polarization. Now but
Kapil, is your point that minority community candidates just can't aspire for high constitutional offices in this country because the BJP can turn around and say that a Dalit president also comes from a marginalized community, comes from one of the most disadvantaged communities. A tribal woman president comes from one of the most disadvantaged, both socially and economically disadvantaged communities. Even that is representation in high office. It's not just that you have to be Muslim or Christian or Sikh to be considered minority.
Zaka, let me tell you, I am not for a minute saying that you should give precedence to religion over merit. Of course, yes, when someone needs to be elected to any government offices, any office of public importance, of course the merit should be the predominant deciding factor. But we need to understand and we need to see what this incumbent government does. I mean, this is the government that is following extreme right-wing political ideology, where I mean their minister left, right, and center indulges in hate speeches targeting a particular community.
Look, once again, that's a separate debate from that's a separate debate from today's debate topic is very simple. It's taking off from what Mr. Chidambaram, Mr. Tharoor said, that minority candidates, even if they are meritorious in this country, cannot aspire to high office because the politics is that of majoritarianism. So let me ask Guru Prakash Paswan of the BJP the two specific points that Kapil Madan said. Number one, you don't have a single
Even the Supreme Court has not found any fault with her. Supreme Court has said that the process of selection and appointment was illegal.
എന്താണ് ഷോ കോസ് തന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. അതെനിക്ക് മനസ്സിലാവാത്തത്. ഞാൻ എന്ത് ഷോ കോസിന് എന്ത് മറുപടിയാണ് കൊടുക്കേണ്ടത്? എന്നെ എന്തിനാണ് അപ്പോയിന്റ് ചെയ്തതിൻ്റെ ഞാൻ എങ്ങനെയാണ് കോസ് പറയാം?
ക്യാമ്പസുകളെ വർഗീയവൽക്കരിച്ച് സമൂഹത്തിൽ ഭിന്നിപ്പുണ്ടാക്കുന്നതിനുള്ള ശ്രമങ്ങൾ തീവ്രമാകുന്നു.
Welcome back. The Kerala Governor, Arif Mohammed Khan, has issued show cause notices to 11 vice-chancellors in the state, claiming that a recent Supreme Court ruling has made it clear that their appointment has been illegal. This has become a political flashpoint in the state, with Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan accusing the governor of interfering in the government's work. Nonetheless, the ball remains in the governor's court after the vice-chancellors moved the High Court against the governor's order. The court ruled they can stay in office till the governor, as chancellor, takes a final decision. Arif Mohammed Khan has asked the vice-chancellors to show cause for their legal right in office. They have been asked to respond by the 3rd of November, but the fight is far from over. My colleague Maria Shakil spoke to the Kerala governor, who made his case in this exclusive chat.
Today you have sent show cause notices to vice-chancellors of 2 more universities, asking them to explain why you must not remove them from their post. Your office had sent notices to 9 vice-chancellors on Sunday, and they have got temporary relief from the Kerala High Court. The LDF government, sir, is saying that you are doing all this with a larger design. There is a purpose behind it.
They have every right to say whatever they like, but what I am doing, I have made it clear that Honorable Supreme Court in its judgment has clearly laid down the law. If the selection committee does not meet the requirements of the UGC regulation and an appointment is made based on their recommendation, the words which Honorable Supreme Court has used are, it will be considered void ab initio. Right from day one, they are illegal occupant of the office. The second ground which they have given is that UGC regulation requirement is to make a panel of 3 to 5 names. If single name has been forwarded to the Chancellor and appointment is made of that person, that will also be considered as void ab initio. So the only thing that I am doing is to apply the law as laid down by Honorable Supreme Court in the case of the Technical University.
Arif Saab, the news reports that are coming from the ground are suggesting that the political class there, that the government has reportedly counselled the vice-chancellors to ignore or overlook your order of seeking their resignations. Don't you feel that this will set the ground for a protracted legal battle with what many say would be far-reaching constitutional ramifications?
Nothing, absolutely nothing. I had tried to give them I had suggested an honorable exit. And therefore, I had requested them to submit their resignations by 11:30 in the morning on Sunday. Since they did not, they were directed, news has appeared. It is not the government which is directing them. It is the LDF, the political outfit. Every paper has carried this news, that LDF has directed the vice-chancellors not to heed to my letter.
And shifting focus to the storm in Tamil Nadu, 5 people have been arrested for helping terror suspect movement in the planning and execution of the blast in Coimbatore. According to top intelligence sources, 25 people are on the radar of intelligence agencies and will be questioned. Raids and searches are underway around Coimbatore. Meanwhile, Tamil Nadu BJP chief Annamalai has hit out at the DMK government, accusing them of underplaying the entire case. Annamalai has called it an intelligence failure.
Do you think it's a case of suicide attack?
It's a clear case of a suicide bomber because he makes his intention clear
and also the way he was operating from 2019, the previous history, and the explosives in his home, the way he was driving that vehicle, the nature of the incident, everything points out to the fact that this guy is a very radicalized youth. 2 days before, he made his intentions clear in his WhatsApp status message that once I die, please come for my funeral. So what more evidence is the police looking at? And first of all, the police is denying it's a terror attack. Second, they are denying it's a suicide attack. That is very unfortunate in our state, where after the DMK has come to power, every single issue is being stonewalled, thereby putting people's life, people's property at danger. I don't think our Honorable CM has got a handle on what is happening in the state, ma'am. He's more bothered about advertisement, film shows, walking, releasing some song, and going to a movie screening, and all those stuff is doing.
And that's all we have to pack in on the show. But before we leave, the partial solar eclipse was visible across the country. This was the last solar eclipse of the year. We leave you with these visuals. Good night and take care.
Hope that this may go through in the history of both the countries. And here is our opposition just trying, whiling away their time in talks which have no base at all.
Kapil Madan, let me start with you first. When Mr. Chidambaram, Mr. Tharoor say that will this happen in India where a person from a minority community can aspire to the top job, why are they discounting the fact that Manmohan Singh, a Sikh, was Prime Minister for 10 years from the Congress party? Why are they discounting that APJ Abdul Kalam was a Muslim and President of India, the first citizen, for 5 years? There have been numerous instances